Whether you've transformed your basement into a game room or just use it for storage and laundry.
Without proper waterproofing, rain and flooding like what we've seen in recent years can cause damage to your foundation and even compromise your living space.
Larry Janeski's Connecticut Basement Systems claim they provide solutions for all things, well, basement-y.
Dan Fitzgerald is the Director of Marketing and joins us now. Welcome, Dan. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Basement-y. Is that a word? Did you guys make that up?
Actually, no, basement-y is not a word. So we did make it up.
Sounds good, though, right?
You know, it is appropriate for us because we are actually going to be celebrating our 25th year in business next year. And people know us over the years as the company to call if you have a basement problem, basement water problem, moisture control. But we do so much more than that. That all things basement-y kind of encompasses everything we do. So we do basement finishing. So we'll put a system in that's permanent, waterproof, lasts forever. We do foundation repair. So we'll come in and fix structural problems in the foundation. We also do crawl space repair. So we'll seal crawl spaces, create a healthier environment. And what's a crawl space but really a short basement, right? So all things basement-y kind of works for us.
It does. It'll be in the dictionary sooner than you think. Dan, tell us who Larry Janeski is.
Well, Larry he's quite a guy. He's an inventor. He's an author. He's an entrepreneur. He's really a visionary. So Larry looked at an industry that really nobody had done any R&D in, and he developed solutions to many problems below grade. And once he had these solutions, he started to build a dealer network, kind of like a franchise. And we have now 350 plus companies in 6 countries that sell and install our products and systems.
Wow. You've come off of one of the most successful years in the company's history. What happened?
Well, you know, it was kind of like the perfect storm, you know, so to speak, in that we had hurricanes this year, we had nor'easters, we've had statewide blackouts, right?
It's just been wild weather.
Yeah, I can't remember this kind of weather. So it all played together, and we were prepared. We were ready to go and take on the challenges of dealing with these issues. And what happens when we have this kind of flooding in the homes is we get hydrostatic pressure that builds up outside the foundation. And the metaphor I use is if you take a bucket of water and poke a hole in the top, it trickles out. But if you poke a hole in the bottom, it streams out. And that's what happens around the foundations during these storms, is that water gets forced in, and people that have never had water problems have claimed that they have basement flooding this year.
So if you're seeing cracks in the foundation, is that always a bad sign?
Well, cracks can be a couple different things. You can have minor cracks due to the curing of the concrete. But what we're finding more times than not is that cracks in foundations and sometimes cracks in your sheetrock or drywall are symptoms of a foundation issue, like maybe the foundation is sinking in a certain area. And we're finding that during certain soil conditions, and the foundation starts to shift, and it causes those cracks, and we can fix those problems.
Is there a way to prevent that from happening before the heavy rains come?
It's not really a preventative thing when you're dealing with foundation repair. It's really the conditions when the house was built. So let's say, for instance, we might have built a foundation on wetlands that might have had fill, which, you know, in our state that occurs, and that fill over time may settle a little bit, and that foundation might settle. You might start to see cracks. Maybe your windows don't open, you know, well, they stick. Maybe the door doesn't shut into the door jamb correctly, and you're noticing these things, and you're thinking, well, this might just be settling. Now, that's kind of the term we use, you know, oh, our house is settling, but sometimes it's more than that.
Let me ask you about finishing your basement, because I was just saying to you that one of the best things my parents ever did was finish the basement for my brother and me, because we had a playroom growing up. But what do you have to think about before you do this?
Well, there's a big misconception with basement finishing. People think that you want to finish a basement with the same materials that you do upstairs. It's just natural thinking. You want studs and sheetrock, and you put that up and you tape and paint. But actually in a basement, that's not what you want to use. Basements are a different environment. It's a damper environment. It's below grade. Things can happen. It's going to get wet. The basement's going to get wet at some point. I mean, think about it. If the bathtub overflows or the toilet overflows or a pipe leaks, your basement's going to get wet, even if it's not from groundwater seepage. So when you finish a basement, you want to use materials that are inorganic, meaning that they've never grown. We don't want to use trees or wood or paper. carpeting, that type of thing down there is not a good idea. So the systems that we use are completely inorganic. They're waterproof systems, they're insulated, they've got a vinyl treatment on them so they look great, but they're permanent. So if that basement ever gets wet, the system is still good. Yeah, you're safe.
So much to know about basements.
It's true. We're just about out of time, but let's put some information up on the screen. For a free inspection from Larry Janeski's Connecticut Basement Systems, call 888-809-9802 or visit ctbasementcompanies.com. A lot of good information, Dan. Thank you so much for being here. More